I'm CJ, real estate developer here in San Diego. We just finished the second story on this 24-unit multifamily development. One more story to go. We bought this property for $420,000. It's gonna be worth about $7 million when it's done. And I get asked all the time, how do real estate developers actually make money? And so today I'm gonna break that down for you. To me, I break it down like this. There's 4 ways real estate developers make money. The first is the quickest way, probably the easiest, not developing the property. So you acquire the property, you can either turn around and sell it. Say the seller didn't know, the potential, development potential. So you can turn around and sell it, or you can entitle the property, right? So you get permits approved, then you turn around and sell the property. So that's probably the quickest. The second way would be to either build to sell it or keep it, right? So, if you build to sell it, ideally purchase, carry, construction costs are less than the disposition, amount they're selling it for. Or you build and keep it and, have the cash flow. If you build to sell, that's considered a merchant developer. And I do that sometimes when we raise capital, depending on the deal. And then the third would be fees, right? So when you raise capital, you can take a few different types of fees. And so the first is an acquisition fee. So this can range from 1% to 3% depending on the deal type, how big the deal is. You can also get a management fee. So again, this can be between 1% to 3%. And then you can also get a disposition fee. So there's 3 ways to get fees throughout a project. The fourth would be with a construction loan, you have the ability to bake in kind of like a staffing budget. So for your project manager, superintendent, or even yourself, you can usually bake some sort of salary. It's not a lot, but you can bake a salary usually into the construction loan. All right, 2 years ago, I was doing software sales. I was making, a few hundred K doing real estate, pretty passively. Monthly income perspective, just off the fees, staffing budget, things like that, I'm making more than I was making in my W-2. And then I have all that equity appreciation also. Going full time, it's like, dude, it's night and day than what I was making in tech. All right, so how do we actually make money on this deal? So we acquired it for $420,000. We did a joint venture, right? We didn't raise money on this. So it was myself, 2 other business partners. We equally put up our portion of the acquisition, $150K each. And then we were able to finance all of the construction because the value of the property once completed was much lower than the loan amount. So we were able to finance all the construction. We were able to build an interest reserve. So essentially, instead of having to make a monthly mortgage payment, we were able to finance all of those. So an entire year worth of payments into the loan. And then we were able to add a staffing budget. So for this project, our staffing budget was about $200,000. About $60,000 of that goes to one of the project managers we have on site. He's here about 20 hours a week. The rest of the staffing budget is split among the 2 other partners we have. So based on our roles and responsibilities, we divide up part of that kind of staffing budget.
How do you think if it's a good deal or not?
Within the first 5 seconds, I know if I'm even gonna think about the deal. Within the first 15 minutes, I know if I'm even pursue the deal. And then probably within 24 hours, I know if I'm gonna buy the deal. So one is location, right? So I know there's certain areas of San Diego that are getting overdeveloped or have extremely low rents. Like someone sends me that deal, won't even look at the deal. We're here in San Isidro. A lot of people would actually kind of overlook this area, but we actually get really good rents here. And the price for the land is pretty inexpensive. So for me, this project made sense. And then once I like the area, then it takes me about 15 minutes to kind of plug in what the feasibility is going to be. So how many units can I build? How much is that going to cost? What's the property going to cost? And based on kind of those different parameters, I have a pretty good idea if it's a deal I want to really lean into. Once I kind of have the check mark there, then I go into full underwriting. So I have my big fancy calculator, and I'll plug in all the inputs there, and I should know within a few hours if this deal that I want to buy. Stay tuned for future videos. I'm gonna break down my simple development calculator, my deep dive calculator, and a few other tips and trips along the way.